Since being hired over a year ago, our company has increased from around 500 employees to 800 and has plans to hire 500 more this year. With all this hiring, there is bound to be turnover, but like all great companies, we have a system in place to help mitigate that as much as possible in the form of progression plans. These progression plans are to help employees that might be struggling to hit certain goals, quota, and other metrics. These progression plans are not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, and there's great opportunity to create plans that are better suited to the actual progression of the individual, not just their ability to better contribute to the monetary gain of the organization. Our mission at my company is to set people free to do great work. Our HR software helps our subscribers feel less of a burden when it comes to their HR needs. Along with setting our customers free to do great work, our employees need to feel they're also set free to do great work. Our company is known for its great culture. When it comes to progression plans, though, I feel there's a disconnect between the culture that has been created and the progression plan itself. In my situation, my manager sent me a message online without warning and said, "We need to talk about your performance." This threw me for a loop because I thought I was progressing rather well. In our discussion, she mentioned how I need to be more consistent and that this lack of consistency is why I'd be put on a progression plan. We set some goals, and then I was told that I had 2 months to turn things around or I'd be let go. I felt like I was placed on an island. Instead of being buoyed up, I felt abandoned and no longer part of the team. This was in direct contrast to the culture created by our founders. So, how do we begin to evaluate these issues? I have two thoughts. First, I feel anonymous surveys would be one of the best ways to gather solid intel from people on current progression plans and those that have been on progression plans in the past. This strategy would help collect honest feedback, which would be needed to remove as much bias as possible. Second, measuring retention rate would be another objective that would provide great feedback for the organization. Seeing how many employees are put on progression plans, how many of those that came off of them and stay with the company versus how many leave the organization. Ultimately, this would be one of the great signs of how well the plans are working at retaining our employees. So, what does the course material say about progression plans, or how can the course material help us when it comes to the current situation of the progression plans? Number one, dialogic organizational development. The reading by Peggy Holman, A Call to Engage, discusses the power of DoD and how it can positively affect the hierarchy of a company. My whole life, when I picture a company, I've seen the CEO at the top and it flows down in a pyramid type of shape with different teams and organizations filling out the base. She states there needs to be a change. Quote, "The pattern of change flows as follows. Disruption breaks apart the status quo. The system differentiates servicing innovations and distinctions among its parts. As different parts interact, a new, more complex coherence arises." So, what does that mean? Essentially, this pyramid of people falls apart because it's lack of understanding and a communication from the top to the bottom, not much unity. So, for Holman, it gets reorganized. A new structure is formed, but instead of a typical pyramid structure, it's more open. People aren't stacked on top of each other. Everyone has an opportunity to express themselves and contribute. This open system could increase communication and in turn create progression plans that are created more to the individual and develop a clear path for improvement. Two, growth mindset. There's a video by Carol Dweck, professor of psychology at Stanford University, talking about the concept not yet versus you failed. From what she states, how would this translate to progression plans? Well, let me give a personalized example. When my daughter is trying to achieve something and falls a bit short, it should be our responsibility as her parents to help her understand that even though she isn't able to accomplish it yet, to keep encouraging her that through dedicated work, she soon will be able to achieve her goal. Quote, "When we praise kids for the process they engage in, their hard work, their strategies, their focus, they learn that challenge seeking, they learn that resilience." We need to be praising people for their efforts versus their results. Progression plans that are based on this concept, effort based and not result based, could show major improvement. When people feel that their effort is being praised and not their results, they feel a part of the team, and not just a number on a spreadsheet. At least that's my experience. Number three, design thinking. Progression plans need to always address the emotional needs of the employee and create a safe space for them to express and have positive dialogue. Being on a progression plan is not easy, and oftentimes these individuals will feel ashamed, and this is true. The 360 empathy concept within design thinking states, quote, the sensing of unmet needs, especially unarticulated needs, requires deep empathy. Managers and leaders of individuals should make this the foundation where to lead from. Vast improvement would be made at our organization, and individuals would hopefully feel more support and less shame if this concept was implemented. 4. Appreciative inquiry. Conversations Worth Having by Stavros Torres and Cooper Ryder share thoughts about a concept I found most applicable to progression plans: positive framing. Positive framing is not only about focusing on the positive, it is also about focusing attention and action on, quote, where we want to go or on what it is we want more, end quote. This practical mindset would be perfect for the need improvement of our progression plans. As managers sit down together to discuss the current state of the plans and how effective they truly are, they can have positive framing conversations discussing where they want the plans to go and what improvement would be needed. Number 5, action research. I'm led by my values, and my organization states they do the same, so each progression plan should reflect this and cater to the individual on the plan to achieve the best results. So when it comes to action research, McNiff states, quote, before you begin a project, you need to think about the values that inform your work and what you hope to achieve through doing the research. Action research is not about working toward a perfect outcome. It's about finding ways to make sense of what is going on here and now and deciding as wisely as possible what to do next, end quote. This is one of my favorite quotes from McNiff, helping one individual and or organization put their best foot forward one step at a time. So what does my organization need to do to take action, evaluate impact, and sustain change? First, management and or leadership would need to be brought up to speed on the impact, negative or positive, these progression plans are having on employees, because right now I get a sense that they have no clue. It would need to start with a current employee on a progression plan, bringing their questions and or issues to the manager and have constructive conversation with them. Second, we need to gather statements and testimonies from individuals by creating online surveys for those that are currently on progression plans to get their honest evaluation on how they feel it is helping them improve. Have the managers take the same surveys to get their answers and can then compare results and see if there's a disconnect. Also, as stated earlier, make sure to gather as much information as possible on who stayed and who left the company after being on a progression plan. This is a key data point to see the retention rate of the plans themselves. And finally, management needs to consistently bring up who is on the progression plan in meetings and make it a permanent part of the agenda. Over time, if management can get on the same page, gather all the needed data, and cater the needs to the individual on the plan, improvements will be made and retention will be gained. To finish, internalizing and consciously remembering that there is an individual on the other side of the plan is the most important part of this whole thing. There is a person with needs and desires to be met. Thank you.